Exercise Dharma Guardian 2026 is conducted in Uttarakhand between India and which country? Correct option is C. Japan. Where was the 16th edition of the Joint Special Forces Exercise Vajra Prahar 2026 conducted? Correct option is B. Bukhlo, Himachal Pradesh. Against which country did the USA and Israel launch Operation Epic Fury in February? Correct option is C. Iran. Exercise Ajay Warrior 25 was conducted between the Indian Army and the Army of which country? Correct option is A. United Kingdom. What is the name of the third anti-submarine warfare shallow watercraft delivered to the Indian Navy? Correct option B. INS Anjdeep. The 11th edition of Joint Military Exercise Mitra Shakti 2025 was conducted between India and which country? Correct option is D. Sri Lanka. Where was the exercise Vayu Shakti 26 conducted by the Indian Air Force in February? Correct option is B. Pokhran Range, Rajasthan. The exercise Desert Cyclone 2025 is a joint military exercise between India and which country? Correct option is C. United Arab Emirates. Which intermediate-range ballistic missile was successfully tested by the DRDO on 6th February? Correct option is B. Agni-3. Where was the Multilateral Naval Exercise Milan 2026 hosted by the Indian Navy? Correct option is A. Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. What is the name of the second anti-submarine warfare shallow watercraft delivered to the Indian Navy? Correct option B. INS Androth. The 13th edition of the Joint Special Forces Exercise Khanjar 2026 was conducted between the Indian Army and which country? Correct option is D. Kyrgyzstan. Which organization recently conducted the successful counter-drone exercise Vayu Samanvay 2? Correct option is D. Indian Army. The 19th edition of military exercise Surya Kiran was conducted between India and which neighboring country? Correct option is C. Nepal. Which state government has launched Operation Prahar to dismantle gangster networks? Correct option is B. Punjab Police. Exercise Dosti 17 is a trilateral Coast Guard exercise between India, Maldives and which country? Correct option is A. Sri Lanka. Which state was recently declared a Naxal-free state in December? Correct option is A. Madhya Pradesh. With which country did the Indian Navy conduct the joint naval exercise Konkan 2025? Correct option is D. United Kingdom. Anant Shastra surface-to-air missile system is developed by which organization? Correct option is D. Defense Research and Development Organization. With which country did the Indian Navy conduct the JIMEX 25 maritime exercise? Correct option is C. Japan. Which operation has been launched by the Delhi Police to tackle the sharing of weapons and objectionable speech on social media? Correct option is B. Operation Shastra. Which edition of India-Australia Joint Military Exercise Austrahind 2025 conducted in October? Correct option is C. 4th edition. Which indigenous anti-drone grid has the Indian Army recently launched? Correct option is A. Saksham. Exercise Equivalent 2025 is conducted between India and which country in December? Correct option is B. Maldives. India and which other countries participated in the 29th edition of the naval exercise Malabar 2025? Correct option is D. All of the above, USA, Japan and Australia. The 8th edition of the Joint Military Exercise Ekta 2025 was conducted between India and which country? Correct option is A. Maldives. What is the name of India's third indigenously built nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine? Correct option is C. INS Arithman. Exercise Garuda Shakti 2025 is conducted between India and which country? Correct option is D. Indonesia. Who has developed the Akash Next Generation Surface-to-Air Missile System? Correct option is C. DRDO. The 5th edition of Exercise Harimo Shakti 2025 was conducted between India and which country? Correct option is B. Malaysia. What is the name of the first anti-submarine warfare shallow watercraft delivered to the Indian Navy? Correct option is B. INS Arnala. Where was the India-Russia Joint Military Exercise Indra 2025 conducted in October? Correct option is C. Bikaner, Rajasthan. Where did DRDO conduct the first successful flight test of the Pinaka long-range guided rocket? Correct option is D. Chandipur, Odisha. With which country did India conduct the 5th bilateral naval exercise Samudra Shakti 2025? Correct option is A. Indonesia. Which organization has developed India's first indigenous photonic radar? Correct option is B. DRDO. Between which two countries was Joint Military Exercise Shakti 2025 conducted in June? Correct option is B. India and France. Sagar Maitri is a collaborative scientific research initiative of the Indian Navy and which organization? Correct option is A. DRDO. Where has the India-USA Joint Military Exercise Yuddh Abhyas 2025 held recently? Correct option is C. Alaska, USA. With which country has the Indian Air Force recently conducted an in-situ air exercise? Correct option is C. Thailand. The 12th edition of bilateral naval exercise Slynex 25 has conducted between the navies of which countries? Correct option is A. India and Sri Lanka. Where the Border Security Force has launched a security operation called Operation Alert? Correct option is D. Indo-Pakistan border in Rajasthan. The Indian Navy has started its first bilateral exercise in Rokan with which country? Correct option is B. South Korea. Recently, the Joint Air Force Exercise Tiger Claw 2025 was conducted between India and which country? Correct option is C. United States. What is the name of the new AI and GIS command system launched by Border Security Force? Correct option is B. Decision Support System. The 17th edition of military exercise Nomadic Elephant was conducted between India and which country? Correct option is D. Mongolia. Indian Navy conduct its first bilateral maritime exercise maiden with which country? Correct option is D. Greece. Under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, in which country has India established its first foreign defense manufacturing plant? Correct option is C. Morocco. Where was the India-Singapore Joint Military Exercise Bold Kurukshetra 2025 conducted? Correct option is B. Jodhpur, Rajasthan. Which countries recently launched the trilateral multi-domain military exercise Freedom Edge? Correct option is C. South Korea, United States and Japan. India and which country conducted a PASEX or passage exercise in the North Arabian Sea in June? Correct option is A. United Kingdom. Where has the Indian Army conducted the exercise Siom Prahar? Correct option is A. Arunachal Pradesh. India participated in the Multilateral Military Exercise Japat 2025 hosted by which country? Correct option is C. Russia. Where was the exercise Yudh Kaushal conducted by the Indian Army? Correct option is D. Arunachal Pradesh. Where was the 14th edition of the Joint Military Exercise Maitri 2025 between India and Thailand conducted? Correct option is C. Umroi, Meghalaya. The Indian Army recently conducted the Military-Civil Integration Exercise Samanvay Shakti 2025 in which two states? Correct option is B. Assam and Manipur. Where were two consecutive successful flight tests of the Pralay missile conducted by DRDO? Correct option is D. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island, Odisha. The 32nd edition of the Maritime exercise Simbex 25 was conducted between the navies of which two countries? Correct option is C. India and Singapore. Anant Shastra surface-to-air missile system is developed by which organization? Correct option is D. Defense Research and Development Organization. Where was multinational exercise Khan Quest 2025 conducted in which the Indian Army participated? Correct option is A. Mongolia. The 6th edition of military exercise Dustalik conducted between India and which country? Correct option is B. Uzbekistan. Which port authority became the first in India to deploy an advanced anti-drone system? Correct option is C. V.O. Chidambarnar Port Authority. The 23rd edition of Naval exercise Varuna 2025 conducted between which two countries? Correct option is B. India and France. The BrahMos NG missile is a collaborative development between India and which nation? Correct option is D. Russia. Which organization conducted the joint military exercise Tropex 25? Correct option is C. Indian Navy. The 3rd edition of exercise Cyclone 2025 is conducted between India and which country? Correct option is A. Egypt. Which two organizations jointly developed the medium-range surface-to-air missile army weapon system? Correct option is C. DRDO and Israel Aerospace Industries. India and which country conducted the 4th edition of exercise Tiger Triumph 2025? Correct option is B. United States. Where was the Astra missile successfully tested from the Tejas Mk1 prototype? Correct option is A. Chandipur, Odisha. Which branch of the Indian Armed Forces hosted the 3rd edition of Meghalaya 25? Correct option is D. Indian Navy. Where was the 6th edition of the joint military exercise Dustalik 2025 between India and Uzbekistan conducted? Correct option is C. Pune, Maharashtra. India conducted a test launch of which missile from a rail-based mobile launcher for the first time? Correct option is B. Agni Prime. The joint training exercise Agni Pariksha in Arunachal Pradesh was organized between which forces? Correct option is A. Indian Army and Indo-Tibetan Border Police. Where was the DRDO's long-range glide bomb Kaurav successfully tested from a Sukhoi 30 MKI? Correct option is A. Abdul Kalam Island, Odisha. Which organization notified India's first dedicated standard for bomb disposal systems? Correct option is C. Bureau of Indian Standards. In January, the Indian Army has signed a deal with which country to procure Suryastra? Correct option is D. Israel. Which country developed the YJ-21 hypersonic anti-ship missile? Correct option is B. China. Where did the DRDO and Indian Army conduct 4 successful flight tests of the medium-range surface-to-air missile? Correct option is C. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island, Odisha. Which country recently deployed the nuclear-capable Oshnik hypersonic missile system? Correct option is A. Russia.